Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today, we're continuing our emotional what-if story. What if Hinata finally escaped the Hyuga clan? Naruto became her sanctuary. Before we begin, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss future episodes. If you're enjoying the story, comment below. Hinata will find her freedom. Now sit back, relax, and discover what happens next as Naruto and Hinata face their biggest challenge yet. Let's begin. Part 3. Naruto walked through the village looking at all the bright pink and red decorations. Cut-out hearts and cupids were taped to storefronts and windows, and streamers and balloons decorated every available space. Valentine's Day was approaching Konoha, and it seemed every person had their own different feelings on this particular holiday. Choji could be seen enjoying the special heart-shaped confections that were only around for this particular month. Shikamaru, often seen with Choji, could be heard mumbling about avoiding the troublesome women who were crazy for this useless holiday. Ino was rarely seen as she helped run her family's flower shop, and Valentine's Day was one of their busiest holidays after all. However, she could be found ranting and raving at the end of the day, angry that nobody in particular had gotten her anything other than a card or two. Lee would spend every year trying to win Sakura's heart, with bouquets of flowers and boxes of chocolates. Eventually, though, he seemed to make some kind of breakthrough last year because Sakura had accepted his gifts and even invited him inside to share the candies in a movie. Neji barely registered the fact that Valentine's Day was a holiday and continued training until Tenten made him stop so they could go get coffee together. Tenten spent her Valentine's Day trying to get Neji to go out and be with other people. The way she saw it, nobody should be alone on the one holiday that celebrated the love between family, friends and lovers. Kiba and Akamaru could be found goofing off together like always. WHT love could be stronger than the bond between a boy and his dog. Needless to say, Kiba doesn't spend much time with people on holidays like this. Shino was searching for the elusive heart-patterned beetle, which was all black with a red heart shape on its stomach. His Valentine's Day was spent making the queen of his Kikaichu very happy. Happy queens make more eggs, which mean more beetles to control and work with. Hinata would spend her Valentine's Days making cards and gifts for her teammates and friends. Everyone deserved a little bit of recognition on special days like this, or else what would be the point? This was something Hinata understood the most: recognition. Sakura, torn between the heartbreak of Sasuke and her slightly growing affection towards Lee, decided it would be best to work a double shift at the hospital. If she could, Sakura wanted to just forget the existence of the holiday altogether. Naruto walked through the village. Rarely did he even celebrate holidays such as these. You need someone truly precious to celebrate with, right? Valentine's Day was to celebrate family, friends and loved ones. Naruto had no family left, he had friends, who were usually busy, and loved ones. Naruto loved all his friends, but he loved Hinata in a different way, a special way. Today, Naruto decided he would celebrate Valentine's Day. Walking through the Leaf Village was a young man with dark red hair, seafoam green-colored eyes with black insomnia rings around them. This man was Sabaku no Gaara, the fifth Kage of Suna. Beside him was a blonde with 4 pigtails and light blue eyes with a large fan on her back. She was the ambassador between Suna and Konoha, and Gaara's older sister Temari. Also with them was another young man with war paint on his face wearing all black with a wrapped white bundle on his back. He was the puppet master of Suna and Gaara's older brother Konkuro. As they walked out of the Hokage's office, Gaara looked around at all the decorations in the village. Though his face was emotionless, his eyes burned with curiosity as he looked around. Temari put her hand on her brother's shoulder and smiled. They're getting ready for the Valentine's Day festival. It's a celebration that takes place once a year. Valentine's Day is where you celebrate the love for your friends, family and loved ones. Gaara continued to look around as he took in the information. A celebration of love, that is interesting. How does one celebrate love? He asked, walking through the village. Again it was Temari who answered. Oh, that's easy, you get a person a Valentine's Day gift. Usually it's a card, but some people give candy, balloons, stuffed animals and flowers, and people who are truly deeply in love actually propose to each other. Again Gaara nodded. Are you going to propose to Shikamaru? Gaara asked, looking at his sister, who almost tripped over. What? She sputtered, turning beet red looking into Gaara's serious eyes. She couldn't believe it. He was asking her an honest question, no joke, nothing. Well, you truly care for him deeply, yes. Well, yeah, but not like that, Gaara. He's just a really good friend. That's all. Temari said blushing. Gaara wasn't convinced. Besides, it's the men who propose to the women, not the other way around. Gaara. Kankuro was howling at the events before him, Temari was flustered beyond words, and Gaara was trying to convince her to propose to Shikamaru. Knowing that lazy bastard, he'd hightail it at the first sight of long-term commitment. Kankuro mused to himself. The trio continued walking until Gaara seen a familiar person, his first true friend. Gaara, Temari, Kankuro, what are you guys doing in Konoha? The boisterous blonde shouted out as he ran over to the Sand siblings. Gaara simply shrugged. Just cage business and the like, he said with a smirk staring at Naruto who glowered at him before laughing. Yep, bug me about it now, but I'll be the Hokage soon enough. So, you guys gonna stay for the festival? Temari opened her mouth to answer but was cut off by Gaara. Yes, I'm interested about this Valentine's Day business. Did you get any gifts yet? No, well let's go, I'm on my way to grab people some stuff anyways. Oh, and Temari, Shikamaru was looking for you, last I seen he was heading towards the embassy. Hearing this the blonde immediately began walking towards said building. Well, I'll see you two later. There's a man I need to see about some replacement parts for Crow. Kankuro said while walking away, leaving the two Jinchuriki alone. Naruto and Gaara walked through the plaza looking for gifts for their friends and loved ones. Hey, Gaara, look at this, Temari would like this if you got it for her. Naruto said holding up a necklace with a miniature fan charm on in. Gaara took it from the blonde and inspected it. Yes, I think Temari would be pleased with this, he said looking at the intricate carving detail on the charm. They continued looking around the store finding little trinkets here and there until a light purple gem caught Gaara's eye. It was another fan charm, however, this time the charm could open and close, and when opened 3 purple gems were embedded into the fan, much like Temari's battle fan and its 3 moons. Luckily this one was meant as a locator charm. Temari could put some of her chakra into the charm and would be able to find her fan, no matter where it was. Naruto wasn't having the same luck with finding a gift for Hinata and Hanabi. They went to at least 5 stores before Naruto found Hinata and Hanabi the perfect something. At first it appeared to be a 2-chained necklace with a blue and green dragonfly sitting on a purple and green flower, however upon closer inspection it was found that the dragonfly and the flower could disconnect making 2 separate necklaces. Naruto loved it, and smiled when even Gaara nodded his approval. Buying for everyone else was easy. For Lee, another green suit, much like his old green one, only just a few shades darker in color. Neji, a new kunai and shuriken set. Tenten the weapons mistress was bought a new storage scroll. Sakura, new gloves and a smiley-faced card. Shikamaru, a traveling magnetic shoji set, made special to be flat for easy traveling storage. Good for long-term missions. Choji, a special cookbook was found, it involved healthy high-caloric meals, which would be good for his jutsu and his waistline. Ino got specially designed chakra weights that looked like 2 small bracelets. For Tsunade Naruto got a giant shot glass, 1 shot would be a bottle of sake. Though it was supposed to be a gag gift, Naruto couldn't help but wonder if Tsunade would actually try and use it. With their gifts and purchases Gaara ordered wood for Kankuro's puppets to be sent to Suna, wood was a rarity there. The Jinchuriki pair left the market and headed towards Yamanaka Flowers. The line though quite long was much shorter than it had been earlier, however Naruto did not feel like waiting. Pushing an extremely confused Gaara ahead of him, Naruto shouted out. Alright, move along political diplomat and Cage coming through, make way for the 5th cage. The line immediately parted and lessened letting the pair walk through to the front. The embarrassed Cage glared mutinously at Naruto. Do not ever do that again Naruto. Gaara said, annoyance tinging his voice as he noticed the glares they were getting from the customers in the line. Oh, Lord Cage, Naruto, what's up? Ino said smiling, glad for at least a tiny break from frantic fools looking for a last-minute gift for their loved ones. Hey Ino, do you guys have rainbow roses? Naruto asked curiously, his voice low. Ino glanced around, lowering her voice as well. Yeah, we actually got some today. They're quite expensive though, like tons and tons of money. Naruto's face paled. He wasn't expecting them to be that expensive. Suddenly Ino burst out laughing. Naruto, you should have seen your face, priceless. We have tons of them, they cost the same as any old rose would. She said with a smile. How many do you need? We're having a special, a dozen for $10. So what do you say? I'll take it. Naruto looked around for his red-haired friend, but Gaara was gone. Ino, where's Gaara? All the way in the back was the cage staring in awe at a plant on an old crowded shelf. Anything on that shelf is really cheap if you're interested, Ino said, following Gaara's gaze to the potted plant. You know, my family was never sure what this thing was, Ino said, removing the plant from the shelf and handing it to Gaara. You seem to have an idea to what it is, care to share? This is a crescent moon desert orchid, Gaara said, barely believing the words coming out of his mouth. These are extremely rare, and almost impossible to find. Apparently they only bloom in desert climates under certain kinds of moonlight. Amazing, nobody had heard Gaara speak this much ever. Well, you can have it, we were just gonna junk it to be honest, Ino said simply. However, Gaara pulled out his wallet and handed Ino a decent portion of money as she stared at him in shock. Why, you really don't have to do that, she said, trying to force Gaara to take his money back, who outright refused to do so. Turning, he walked from the flower shop as Ino stared in shock at the large sum of money before her before finally and reluctantly putting it into the register. She gathered Naruto's rainbow roses and handed them to him. Here, these are on the house, she said, smiling at the blonde boy. Thanks, Ino, Naruto said as he ran from the building. Valentine's Day was tomorrow, and there was still so much to do. The Jinchuriki went their separate ways, Gaara heading towards the embassy with his plant, and Naruto heading towards his home. The sun rose the next morning, and with it came the festivities of the festival. Children were playing games and giving each other Valentine's cards and candies. Naruto was seen walking with a very happy Hinata. Their hands were locked together, and Hinata's available hand always found its way to her new necklace. A smile came across her face every time she touched the pendant. Together they joined their friends at the festival, playing games and winning prizes. Naruto had won several games, earning Hinata a pink goldfish, flashing pink hearts and kissing bears with magnetic noses. As the night went on, they were joined by the Sand siblings, Temari wearing her new necklace and charm for her fan, and Kankuro looking much happier at the thought of such abundance of wood for his puppets. Finally the group sat and watched the fireworks. Naruto with Hinata, Sakura with Lee, Tenten with Neji, who actually seemed to be enjoying himself, Shikamaru with a very happy Temari, and even Ino and Choji. Kankuro smirked as he nudged his brother. Maybe next year for us both, little brother. Gaara simply nodded and continued staring at the bright flashing colors in the sky, jumping at the squeal of fright as a girl literally fell into his lap. I'm so sorry, she yelped, jumping up and tripping backwards. Gaara's sand caught her before she fell again. You should be more careful, Gaara said, simply looking at the girl before him. She had shoulder-length wavy brown hair, and sparkling brown eyes with a deep blush across her face. My name is Nia, she said with a shy smile. Gaara couldn't help but notice how beautiful her smile was. His face tinged pink. First, Gaara's just sitting there watching fireworks, and suddenly a beautiful girl literally falls into his lap. Gaara, my name is Gaara. Nice to meet you, Nia said, holding out her hand. Kankuro simply stared. Did this girl not know who exactly she was talking to? And Gaara, was he blushing? No, that was impossible. Gaara did not blush. Yet here he was doing the impossible. Gaara took the girl's hand with a slight smile. Nice to meet you as well. The fireworks ended as the group stood and walked back to the festival. But Nia stood there staring at the beautiful eyes of the boy in front of her. Their color was beautiful, and they held so much emotion deep inside. I need to go now, the girl said, smiling at Gaara, who simply nodded. Again Nia blushed. You can let go now. Gaara hadn't realized that he had yet to release her hand after helping her up. Again pink stained the young cage's face. Immediately he let go, dropping his hand to his side. Sorry. Bye Gaara. Bye Nia, the boy said softly, watching as she walked away. Wow, Gaara, she was pretty cute, huh? Kankuro said, prodding his brother. She even made you blush twice, the older boy said, laughing. Immediately sand wrapped around Kankuro as Gaara glared at him. Tell anyone I blushed and you will not see tomorrow, he said, growling menacingly. The puppet ninja nodded frantically as the sand released him. Nothing happened, except you blushing, Kankuro yelped as he sprinted away as fast as he could, with an irate Gaara behind him who was throwing sand shuriken. The rest of the group had no idea why Gaara was chasing his brother, but when Temari went to intervene, Shikamaru pulled her towards him, leading her to the dance floor. The sand kunoichi nearly melted at his gentle embrace as they swayed to the music. Tenten stared at the dancing in awe. Neji, look. Can we dance too please? The brunette asked, poking the Hyuga boy. I don't dance, Tenten. The weapons mistress glared at Neji, who actually shrank back in fear. You wouldn't share dinner with me, you wouldn't play games, it was a struggle to get you to watch the fireworks, I swear to all that is holy, Neji Hyuga, if you do not dance with me tonight. Tenten was cut off as she was quickly pulled towards the dance floor. See Neji, this isn't so bad. The girl said, smiling sweetly at the normally cold Hyuga boy. Yeah, dancing's not that bad. Neji mumbled. Naruto, look, Tenten got Neji to dance. Hinata laughed excitedly. Their night had been going beautifully, dinner, fireworks, and dancing. What could be more amazing? Suddenly the chocolate dessert fountain sprang to life, and Choji was the first person to reach it. Ino dessert. The blonde face palmed, smirking at her teammate. Typical Choji, thinking with his stomach. The hefty boy walked over holding a plate of strawberries covered in chocolate. Here Ino, I got these for you. Choji said, smiling at his female teammate. He had liked Ino for quite a while and this was the perfect opportunity to show her. Ino stared at the plate, the strawberries had little sloppy hearts on them. You decorated these for me. Ino said, smiling sweetly. Choji was truly a sweet guy, much kinder and gentler than any boy she had known ever, not to mention he had the biggest heart. I'll be right back, okay? Ino asked, walking over to the chocolate fountain. Dipping 7 strawberries, Ino decorated them and arranged them on the plate. Quickly she walked back over to her table, Choji smiling happily at her return. Here, Ino said, offering the boy the plate. Letters were spelled out onto the strawberries. Be mine, Choji smiled. Together they shared their desserts. Sakura, dance with me, Lee shouted enthusiastically to the pink-haired girl who smiled at him. Lee, I'd love to but I'm beat, I worked all day. Lee thought for a moment as he stared at the emerald-eyed girl. Can you stand, Sakura? Yeah, why? Lee pulled her up from her seat. Just stand on my feet, and I'll do the rest. Sakura stared at the green-clad boy with a smile. Thank you, Lee. As the night went on, people started leaving the dance floor. Gaara had finally taken a break from ruthlessly hunting his brother, who was currently hiding in a tree, hoping to be unnoticed. Now he was sitting alone at a table covered in shiny pink and red confetti. What are you doing by yourself? Don't you have anyone to dance with? A soft voice said from behind him. Again it was Nia, but now she could be seen better in the brighter light. Her skin was tanned and much to a blushing Gaara's surprise, she was quite curvy. That he had not noticed earlier. I am not much of a dancer. Why did this girl make him so damn flustered? Well, the dancing. They're playing the last song soon, and you seemed really nice, and you're all alone, so I was wondering if maybe. Quote. Nia looked away shyly. Gaara sat there looking at the girl, confusion in his eyes. Everybody was dancing, and here she was standing here talking to him. Did she want to dance with him? Maybe. Hesitantly Gaara stood, holding out his hand to the girl before him, who glowed at the sight, flashing a beaming smile. Nia took his hand and together they walked out onto the dance floor for the rest of the dances. Will I see you after today? Nia asked hopefully, looking at the red-headed boy Gaara sighed. This girl, something was different about her, something truly innocent. I do not know. I am not from Konoha. Oh, well, where are you from, Gaara? Nia asked, genuinely curious. I am from the desert. Gaara said simply. Most people went overboard when they heard he was the cage. So what do you do? He asked, looking into the girl's cocoa-colored eyes. Well, I tend the medicinal herb gardens for the hospitals. I'm actually quite interested in plants, especially exotic ones. Interesting. I've actually acquired a rare crescent moon desert orchid. Nia looked truly interested. You don't say. I've only read about those. I heard that they're truly beautiful when they bloom, and that they never wilt. That's why they're so rare. They continued talking about the desert orchid, about themselves, their lives. Gaara and Nia were becoming fast friends. Finally the last song was announced. Couples flowed onto the dance floor as the slow melody began to play. It was a slow song, a duet. Together were Neji and Tenten, her head resting on the boy's shoulder. Naruto and Hinata, who couldn't stop smiling at each other. Temari and Shikamaru, oddly it was the lazy genius who led the blonde out to the dance floor. Ino and Choji, who shocked his date by his grace on the dance floor. Sakura and Lee, the latter who continued dancing for both of them. And finally Gaara and Nia. In a perfect world, one we've never known. We would never need to face the world alone. They can have this world, we'll create our own. I may not be brave or strong or smart. But somewhere in my secret heart, I know. Love will find a way, anywhere I go, I'm home. If you are there beside me, like dark turning into day. Somehow will come through, now that I've found you. Love will find a way. Female singing ends. Male begins singing. I was so afraid, now I realize. Love is never wrong, and so it never dies. There's a perfect world, shining in your eyes. Duet. And if only they could feel it too. The happiness I feel with you. They know, love will find a way. Anywhere we go, we're home. If we are there together, like dark turning into day. Somehow will come true, now that I've found you. Love will find a way, I know love will find a way. That was the final song. The festival is officially over. Good night everyone and see you next year. The DJ said as the crew began packing their equipment. The crowded dance floor emptied out, couples were walking each other home. Gaara, we need to head back too. Temari started looking at her younger brother. Gaara was having an animated conversation with a girl around his age. Gaara likes that girl, it's funny she literally fell into his lap. And she makes him blush. Kankuro said, peeking his head around the corner, staying out of Gaara's view. Temari smirked as she walked over to the pair. Gaara, we need to get going soon, Suna's going to need us back. The redhead looked reluctantly from the brunette to his blonde sister. We can walk her home, you know, I'm not saying to abandon her. Temari said flatly. Gaara nodded, I'll walk her home and met you and Kankuro back at the embassy, alright. Temari simply shrugged as she walked away. Thank you, but you really don't have to walk me home, Gaara, I am a ninja after all. She said with a smile. Well, it is rude to spend the evening dancing and not offer to make sure you arrive home safely, is it not? Gaara asked as Nia led the way. Hey Gaara, a loud voice called out. Naruto ran over to the Jinchuriki, dragging his date behind him as he ran. Oh, hi Naruto. Hi Hinata, Nia said, smiling with a slight wave. Nia, when did you get back? Hinata asked, hugging her friend. As the two boys began talking. Oh, you won't believe it, right? So I'm more than halfway to Suna when a supply carrier gives me 3 more scrolls to deliver. I know that they're only building supplies, but how much wood does the case cage need? I mean, come on, is he building a mansion or something? Nia said with a laugh. What do you think of the case cage, Nia? Gaara asked, breaking off his conversation with Naruto to look at the girl. Well, I don't think poorly of him at all. He must be a great ninja to be the leader of Suna. The brunette said with a grin. I'm just annoyed that he ordered all this stuff and I didn't even get to meet the guy. Hinata laughed as she, Gaara and Naruto shared a look. Nia, you've already met the case cage. Hinata said with a smile as she looked at her friend. The poor girl now looked confused as she thought back. She delivered the scrolls to an older man. She came back to Konoha. Reluctantly went to the carnival. Fell on Gaara during the fireworks. Ran off embarrassed. Found him yet again in the dance hall. Talked with him, danced with him, walked with him. Gaara was the only person she met that day that had come from Suna. Wait a minute, Nia said softly as realization dawned on her face. You're the case cage, she yelped, pointing at the red-headed boy who simply nodded. Suddenly she gasped. Oh my gosh, I didn't insult you by talking with a lack of respect, did I? No, you did not insult me, Nia, I rather enjoyed our chat actually. Gaara said, amusement evident in his voice. The two couples walked together until they reached Nia's house, which luckily enough was close to Naruto's house and the embassy. Gaara walked her up to the door. It was very nice to meet you, Gaara. I'm glad we got to know each other. Nia said with a smile. It was very nice to meet you as well, Nia. Gaara said politely. Nia walked over and hugged him. The next time I'm in Suna we should go out for coffee, or tea, huh? I'll look you up, shouldn't be too hard with you being the case cage and all, right? No, it would not be hard to find me, I would enjoy that. Gaara said, looking at the smiling girl. Good night. Good night. With a slight wave to Naruto and Hinata, Nia went into her house. Looks like she likes you, Gaara. Naruto said rather enthusiastically. It seems so. I'll be heading back to the embassy now. Good evening, Naruto, Hinata. Suddenly, as they were almost to the end of the walkway, Nia's door wrenched open. Happy Valentine's Day, Nia shouted out to the trio, waving. Gaara smiled and waved back slightly. Together they walked to the embassy, which was on the way to Naruto's house. Gaara separated himself and walked towards the gate. Happy Valentine's, Gaara. Night, Naruto yelled as Hinata smiled and waved. Gaara made his way inside silently and flopped on his bed. Though he still rarely slept, it was nice to rest on something soft from time to time. As he lay there, Gaara closed his eyes, feeling content. Her hug was so warm. He thought as he relaxed. Naruto and Hinata walked the rest of the way home. Together they were happiest, nothing could change that. Hinata smiled as she seen her flowers in the vase on the side table. She had been ecstatic when she received them. They were special rainbow roses, each petal a different color, they were a beautiful array of colors. They walked up the stairs going towards their own rooms. Happy Valentine's Day Naruto, thank you for everything. Hinata said as she stood in front of her bedroom door. Naruto flashed his foxy grin at the girl he loved. Happy Valentine's Day Hinata, and you're very welcome. The sun rose early in Konoha, and with it, the ninja of the village. One particular Kunoichi was just arriving back home for the first time after 4 months in Suna. Haruno Sakura had finally come home after many months of researching medicinal herbs and techniques of allied lands. The pinkett yawned as she walked through the village gates, waving to the 2 guards of the morning. Her many months of learning was extremely beneficial to her knowledge in the healing arts, she even had some new techniques to show Tsunade. Welcome back Sakura, Shizune called out seeing her fellow comrade. Shizune, the Chunin girl said excitedly waving to the short-haired woman, who was Tsunade's assistant and former student. They shared a hug, smiling at each other. Oh Shizune, I've learned so much over the months I've been away. Sakura said excitedly. Together they walked to Tsunade's office talking of the events that had recently happened in the village and during the travels. Naruto panted heavily in the training field as sweat dripped off his face. Jumping to the left, he dodged an attack from a nearby shadow clone and quickly dispatching it with a well-placed blow. The clone dispelled in a poof of smoke, that was the final 1 out of 300 and Naruto had been training for hours. Standing upright he wiped the sweat from his brow with the back of his hand. Turning he grabbed his jacket from the ground and headed towards town as his stomach let out a loud growl. He let out a laugh. Looks like it's time for some ichirakus. Naruto said as he ran full speed towards his favorite restaurant. As dashed through the village, a tinkling laugh could be heard. Turning all Naruto seen was a flash of pink before he crashed into a pole. The blushing girl turned towards the source of the noise as her emerald eyes grew wide. Naruto, is that you? The girl said as she approached the blonde. Sakura, Naruto said as he stared at his former teammate. She was as beautiful as ever, and instantly he felt the butterflies in his stomach that had occurred so often in his youth. Naruto came back, but there's something different about him, he looks so good, wait what? Sakura looks even better than when we were kids, she's still so cute. But I thought I loved Hinata. No, I do love Hinata. But why do I feel this way when I see Sakura again? Sakura was frantically thinking along the same lines as Naruto. Why do I feel this way? I love Sasuke, don't I? Oh Sasuke, what do I do? Sakura, when did you get back? I haven't seen you in a while. Naruto said smiling at the pink-haired girl. Sakura was blushing as she stared at Naruto. Oh, I just got back today, I've been traveling in allied lands learning new techniques of healing, you know, forage and stuff. No matter where you are, it's a good idea to be prepared, you know. She said with a smile, watching as Naruto finally stood up. When he rose to his full height, Sakura was a bit shocked to find that Naruto now was taller than her by far. She smirked, so much for him being the shortest of the bunch. So where were you off to in such a hurry? Sakura asked, scratching the back of her head. I was training, but I finished up and was going for breakfast at Ichiraku's, want to join me Sakura? The green-eyed girl thought for a moment. Sure, why not? I still haven't seen Kakashi-sensei yet, so maybe we might see him there. Hey, remember that time we tried seeing under his mask? She asked, nudging Naruto's arm as they walked. The blonde laughed as they recalled that mission. Together they walked down memory lane, laughing and remembering good times and missions. Finally they arrived at Ichiraku's where they sat down on the stools. Hey Naruto, Ayame said, a smile on her face before looking at the pink-haired Sakura next to him. Good afternoon miss. Naruto, where's your girlfriend? She said, turning back to the energetic boy who shrank back at her disapproving stare. She's not my girlfriend Ayame, we're just having lunch together. Sakura's my old teammate. The ramen girl gave Naruto a stern look. She plastered a smile on her face. What can I get for you, Sakura, is it? Yes, miso ramen please. Sure thing, Naruto. 3 bowls of miso as well. Yep, Dad, order up. 4 bowls of miso ramen, 3 with extra vegetables. Ayame turned, smiling at their favorite customer. Those are on me Naruto. The boy sighed. If he were just taking Sakura to lunch and Ayame acted like this, he could only imagine how his other friends would act. That thought made him shudder, especially what Anko and Kurenai would think. Naruto knew that those two women would flay him alive, with Enko it would be a slow and painfully torturous death. With Kurenai it would be just as bad. Not only was she Hinata's teacher, but also her mother, older sister figure. Naruto, why aren't you eating? Your ramen's going to get cold. Sakura said, nudging his arm. Her bowl was halfway gone, and realizing this, Naruto began scoffing leaving most of the vegetables in the bowl. Sakura, you'll find Kakashi at the training grounds. There's something I gotta do before I go see him today. I'll see you later, okay? Naruto said before running off, leaving his old teammate alone at the stand. As the boy headed towards his home, he ran right into the girl he was looking for. After a yelp of pain and shock from both parties colliding into one another, Hinata stood dusting off her clothes, as Naruto did the same. Hinata, I needed to tell you something. Sakura came back, and her and Kakashi are going to do some group training, okay? So I might be late for dinner. If we get a mission, I'll let you know, so for now don't wait up, okay? With that he ran back from where he came, leaving Hinata looking down in disappointment. Alright, Naruto, the girl said softly, however by then he was long gone. With downcast eyes Hinata continued down the road. She was looking forward to finding Naruto and going out to lunch, but now those plans were shot. Slowly Hinata wandered around the town, passing a familiar hollowed-out tree, the one that led to the secret garden in the Hyuga house. Crouching Hinata began crawling through the tunnel, brushing aside new cobwebs from her path. As she neared the entrance a presence could be felt nearby, one that was recognizable, her father's. Hina, I know that you're there. Hinata froze dead still as her breathing stopped, however her father continued. I know you're watching over our daughters. What should I do for them? Hinata was in shock. Her father knew about the garden. Wait, he was talking to her mother too. Hinata's teammates have been sending her letters, and the elders have been confiscating them. I never knew this until last week, but how do I go about handling this? I know I should give them to her, but if I do, I think she would hate me. She would think it was my doing. And what do I do about Hanabi? The elders wish both of them to be sealed. They believe both of our daughters to be weak. I know they're not, Hina. Our children are strong, but you know that. Hinata has the power to do great things, she just has little faith in herself. I know that that is mostly my fault as well, but she needs to understand the power and strength she controls. Hinata could become stronger than even Neji with her work ethic. I just hope that she learns that. Hinata by now had lain down in the tunnel, her head propped up on her arms, listening to the words of a grieving man. She had honestly missed the miserable man who was in the garden ahead. Though he was never really kind to her, he was still Hinata's father, and apparently he knew that. Finally Hiyashi stopped talking. Hinata continued listening as she heard an elder's voice call for the clan head, who sidestepped and began walking out of the garden. Hinata clenched her eyes shut, fighting herself before calling out softly. You don't have to deal with them, you know. She said quietly. Hiyashi stopped and looked around. Yes, he could activate his Byakugan, but what kind of clan head needed to use his ultimate weapon in his own home? Besides, he knew he was in no danger. You know of this place? Hiyashi said simply as he sat back down on the ground. Hinata's eyes grew wide. She had actually said it. Oh, she had hoped that she had only thought it, but her father did not seem to be angry with her presence. Maybe he wanted to talk. Yeah, I know of the garden. I used to come here a lot. This place made me happy. I understand what you mean. This used to be your mother and I's sanctuary. Of all the words he could have ever used, he picked that one. It was my sanctuary as well, but I have a new one now. Hinata said, staring at the dirt below her. Would you like your letters? Hiyashi asked, closing his eyes and hoping for the best. Yes, please. Hiyashi stood and left the garden, and moments later, Hinata crawled the rest of the way out of the tunnel. She would see her father coming before he would even find the garden. Hinata knew that. Stretching, she took in the familiar aroma of the flowers. Everything was as she had left it. The garden hadn't even changed. The form of her father drove Hinata back into the tunnel. Right now, she just wasn't ready to face him. Not yet anyways. A thick pile of envelopes were gently placed in front of the tunnel. Hesitantly Hinata reached out for them, quickly pulling them back inside the tunnel with her. The most recent are in the back, and this morning you received one from the Inuzuka boy. I have many things to attend to, so you may stay if you wish. Nobody will keep you from doing so. I am the only one who knows of the garden anyways. Good day, daughter. Hiyashi began walking away, but before walking out of the boundary he stopped. Hinata, I meant everything I said about you and your sister. The elders wish the both of you sealed, and only a viable heir can stop it. I have faith in you and your abilities. Become strong, Hinata, your clan needs you. Leaving Hinata with her thoughts, Hiyashi left the garden for the last time that day. Hinata pulled herself out of the tunnel yet again and began picking through her letters. She decided to start with the most recent and then start from the beginning. Finding Kiba's letter, Hinata opened it and began reading, curious to know how her friend and teammate was doing. Hey Hinata, I know you probably don't even get the letters anymore, but I just need to write. Things are going great, and we're on our way back. I should be home in the next few days. I'm sending this today, Monday, so I'll probably be back by Thursday. Hinata stopped reading. Today was Thursday. Kiba would be back sometime today or tomorrow. Possibly today. Folding the letter back into the envelope and grabbing the rest, Hinata scrambled through the tunnel, musing to herself about how she must have been some kind of rabbit or squirrel in her past life. Because she's been going through the tunnel for hours now. Standing, Hinata ran through the village, even passing Naruto, Sakura and Kakashi without so much as a word in greeting. The trio of Team 7 stared at the indigo-haired blur as she ran by. Was that Hinata? Sakura asked as they watched her sprint by. Kakashi looked at Naruto. Maybe someone should check up on her. Yeah, I'll go see what's up. Naruto began walking in Hinata's direction until Kakashi called out something that made Naruto's heart race. It looks like she came from the Hyuga mansion. Just that statement made Naruto's blood run cold, and immediately he began running after her. Today he was filled with confusion. He loved Hinata, but he loved Sakura as well. It was so strange. He wanted nothing more than to know what he really felt for both girls. When he was near either of them, he felt butterflies, he felt warm and fuzzy. Not knowing his true feelings truly frightened him. But what frightened him more was when he heard Hinata scream. Naruto ran as fast as he could. As Hinata ran past Team 7, her heart clenched at the sight of the familiar pink-haired female teammate. She quickened her pace. Hinata didn't want to see them together. Even though they were teammates, it still hurt her to see it. But the thought of seeing her own team member was enough incentive to run past the pain in her heart. As she neared the village gate, she seen several people approaching. All of them had dogs walking beside them, but one white dog in particular came bounding forward toward the girl, barking happily. Suddenly Hinata recognized him. Akamaru. The dog yipped as he jumped up and licked her face excitedly and knocking her down in the process. Hinata laughed in delight as she scratched the now much larger dog behind the ears. Looking up, Hinata recognized the now older Kiba, who stared at her smiling. Kiba. Hinata screeched in happiness as she hugged her longtime friend. There was so much to catch up about, and all the time in the world to do so. Hinata squealed in happiness as she hugged her teammate, screaming as he picked her up with the hug. Kiba, being his exuberant self, twirled Hinata in the air as they both laughed. Kiba, I missed you and Akamaru so much. Hinata said happily, still hugging her teammate. Naruto ran to the village gate and his heart clenched painfully. Hinata was laughing and being held in the arms of another guy. Was this how she felt when he and Sakura were together? Naruto had seen guys hugging Sakura, mostly their friends, ever since she got back, but that hadn't made Naruto's heart hurt like this. Hinata was smiling and laughing as she walked away with the boy in the opposite direction. They hadn't even noticed him. Granted, he had been hiding. This made Naruto's heart hurt even more. Hinata glanced behind her as Naruto quickly ducked into an alley. Why was he finding it so hard to just go talk to her? To run after the indigo-haired girl. Sighing heavily, the blonde sank to the ground, sitting in the alleyway, his back to the wall. Do I even deserve her? He mumbled out loud. Right now Naruto wanted nothing more than to be the guy walking next to Hinata. Wait, why wasn't he? Who the hell did that guy think he was? Naruto stood and ran in the direction that Hinata and the mystery guy went in. Naruto was getting his Hinata back. Kiba, Akamaru, sensei. The gruff-sounding boy said happily as his sensei pulled him into a death grip. The first place the duo of Team 8 went was to find their sensei, Kurenai. Kiba was talking animatedly about his trip and his mission training the smaller Inuzuka-like clan his cousin was leader of. Hinata told Kiba about her life after the group disbanded, and immediately she had to restrain the dog ninja from storming over to the Hyuga clan. But once she finished her story, the boy calmed down a great deal. Ruffling his hair, Kiba sighed, relaxing. It looked like Hiyashi wasn't so bad after all. But hey, if you live with Naruto now, where is he? The wild-haired boy said, looking into Hinata's pale eyes. Immediately she changed from happy to downcast as her eyes teared up. Naruto's out with Sakura right now, she just got back today as well. Me and Naruto were supposed to go and get lunch, but he went to hang out with Sakura instead. Kiba's sharp eyes narrowed. Was this boy completely oblivious to Hinata's feelings still? Even after living with her? Kiba leaned against a tree outside Kurenai's house as Kurenai stared at her student in disbelief. What do you mean Naruto blew you off? She had just come back outside with drinks for the three of them and walked in on the last part of the conversation. Kurenai was pissed. Slamming the drinks down, she stormed off towards the village. Sensei, where are you going? Hinata asked, panicked as she followed her teacher. For some time now, Kurenai had been becoming more protective of Hinata, and for reasons even unknown to her, all Kurenai knew was that a certain blonde was going to get a beating. Kurenai-sensei, sensei, Kiba yelled, chasing after the two women. Akamaru barked to his master and Kiba smirked. Somebody was gonna get it, and it had been quite a while since he had seen Kurenai whip somebody's ass for messing with her student. The dog ninja hurried after his team. No way in the world was he going to miss this. Naruto ran through the village, scouring every street and alleyway. He had lost them, and Naruto was pissed. How could he just up and lose them like that? He was supposed to be a ninja, right? The boy pulled his hair in frustration as he growled. Suddenly something was coming. Something angry. Naruto had a bad feeling about what was coming towards him. Out of nowhere, a fist connected with the boy's head. What the hell is wrong with you, you blonde-haired idiot? Kurenai yelled. Naruto jumped away from the fuming woman, clutching the lump on his head. How the hell can you just blow off Hinata like that? Have you any idea how much that hurt her? My god, I should just beat you to a bloody pulp. Kurenai was mutinously glaring at the boy. Kurenai-sensei, calm down, please. A soft voice called out as Hinata ran over, protecting Naruto from her sensei's rage. Kurenai backed away from Naruto, who now lay quivering on the ground, Hinata hovering over him, looking sadly at the boy. Any day in the world she would throw herself into harm's way just to protect her love. Even if it meant defying her sensei's wishes. Hinata had tears in her eyes as she looked at Naruto. I'm sorry. Her heart was breaking as it clenched painfully in her chest. What for? You saved my butt, Naruto said with a smirk. For this. Hinata closed her eyes before taking a deep breath. I'm leaving Naruto. If you love somebody, you set them free, right? He loves Sakura, that is perfectly clear. Naruto's blue eyes widened in shock as the smile fell from his face. He stared into Hinata's swimming lavender ones. A lump formed in his throat, constricting his breathing as Naruto simply stared. What? Hinata, you can't be serious. Hinata simply smiled at his bewildered and horrified face. I know you love Sakura, it's obvious, Naruto. But I love you, and I need to let you go. So just forget about me. She stood and walked quickly away as Naruto sat in a stunned heap on the ground. Kurenai stared in horror at the sight before her. This wasn't supposed to happen. Kiba stared in shock as well. Hinata, you finally had him, why did you let him go? You wanted this for years. The indigo-haired girl turned one last tearful look back at Naruto before running off through the crowd. This was the hardest thing she ever had to do, to turn around and walk away pretending that she didn't love him. Hinata, this can't be happening, this can't be. His eyes were burning as he watched the long hair of Hinata disappear into the crowd. He wanted to call out to her, run after Hinata and never let her go, but nothing in his being would let him move. He could barely even breathe. Kakashi and Sakura walked by, and upon seeing their team member immediately pushed their way through the crowd. Naruto, what's wrong? What happened? Sakura asked, dropping down beside the boy, grabbing his arm. Immediately Naruto pulled away from Sakura's touch. Kakashi looked around. Kurenai, Kiba, Naruto, Team 7, but no Hinata. Naruto, Kakashi said, kneeling in front of his student. The Jinchuriki looked up into his sensei's available eye. She's gone. Naruto's breathing quickened as he scrambled to his feet and ran from the mass of people. Sakura called out to him, but Naruto didn't care. He couldn't be there. He needed to find Hinata, to fix everything. What caused this? Why was this happening? Naruto began his search, looking for his friend, his companion, his love. Hinata, where are you? How could I just forget? Hinata was running through the forest, her tears blinding her. Finally she stopped and held onto the tree from which she was perched, sobbing. She wiped her eyes as she stared into the trees in front of her, her chest heaving with sobs. Now Naruto C can be happy. He'll be happy with Sakura. He'll forget. Hinata stood and continued running through the forest. Where she was going, nobody would think to look. The familiar hollowed-out tree was in sight. Crawling through the tunnel, Hinata pulled herself out on the other side. She was back in the garden where everything started. Pulling herself up, Hinata sat against the wall and finally let go of the pain in her heart. She cried her heart out without worry. Nobody could hear her here, they never could. I'm sorry, I'm so sorry, I never meant for this to happen. Kurenai said miserably to Kakashi, who looked confused. Wait, can we start this over again? The silver-haired Jonin said, looking at Kurenai. Were you not listening, damn it? Naruto stood Hinata up, and Hinata was miserable. Kiba came back and they came to visit me. I decided to go yell at Naruto for standing my kid up with so little consideration for her feelings, but Hinata jumped in between to protect that idiot, and out of the blue she broke up with him. She said to him to just forget her and that she was leaving. This is all my fault. If I hadn't gotten so pissed, this wouldn't have even happened. Kakashi watched as his Jonin comrade paced back and forth in front of him. Well, the solution is simple, you go find Hinata, and I'll go find Naruto and we'll fix this. Easy as that. Kurenai stared at Kakashi and gave a nod as she and Kiba jumped off, searching for Hinata. Sakura was long gone, having been searching for Naruto since his abrupt disappearance. Kakashi poofed into smoke, joining the search as well. Hinata, where are you? Naruto had been searching every special place they had shared together. She wasn't at the house, in the hot tubs, on the roof, or in the training grounds. Nor was she in the public training grounds. Forming hundreds of shadow clones, Naruto searched the forest, scouring every nook and hiding space he could find. It was as if she had vanished from the face of the earth, and the thought of that made Naruto's heart break. Hinata, he called out, cupping his hands around his mouth as he yelled, hoping to make the call louder. Naruto, come back. Sakura sighed as she ran through the village. For a person wearing bright orange, he sure could blend into his surroundings. Right now his heart was broken, in need of tending and love. Something Sakura wanted to provide for him, she was determined to do so. Why was it now that she felt so attracted to him, when his heart belonged to another? When it was plainly obvious that it wasn't meant to be? Sakura actually laughed at the thoughts in her head. She knew the answers to all her questions. I want what I can't have. I wanted Sasuke, when he ignored me and when he left. I want Naruto now that he's dating somebody else. But I don't care. He was practically devoted to me for all those years, and I'm not letting him go. Hinata dried her eyes as she stood up from her seat. Tears had soaked her jacket, which by now she had tossed beside her. Naruto, every second with you was a dream. Every second was worth it. I had nothing to lose and everything to gain. And seeing how things could have been in my life, it was worth it in the end. Please just wait for me, there's still things I need to get done, for my clan, for my sister, for me. Please just wait. For me. Hinata walked from the garden and into the Hyuga complex. Time had come for things to get done, and now was the time to get serious about her life. I will never forget you, or the things you've done for me. Naruto sat down on the large limb of a tree. He had been searching for Hinata for hours now. Every thought about her made his heart clench. Even though he was in pain, Naruto had finally come to realize his true emotions for the two girls. Sakura, though he had a crush on her as a child, was nothing more than a sister to him now. The love he felt for Sakura was the same love he felt for Iruka, Kakashi, Sasuke, and even the old man, the third Hokage. He loved them all like family. They were his family, and that would never change. But Hinata, her eyes glowed with such warmth when she looked at him. They only looked at him like that. Her smile brightened his day and made everything all right. The world stopped when she smiled. Her laugh was like the chorus of angels, musical, beautiful, and perfect. There was nothing he would ever change about Hinata. She was amazing, perfect the way she was. Hinata, how could I ever forget about you? How? Naruto's heart was breaking, being crushed and torn to shreds. He would rather die than ever forget her love. Hinata took a determined breath as she walked through the familiar hallways. The place that had been a childhood hell held no horror for her now. No longer was Hinata afraid. She couldn't afford to be, not now. Hinata pushed the doors to the elders' meeting room opened, a determined air around her as she stared defiantly at the much older men before her. One of the men raised his eyebrow. What are you doing here, you waste of Hyuga blood? He sneered at the girl, as all eyes turned towards her. Hinata stared up defiantly at them, holding her head high, and keeping her eyes in the typical Hyuga glare. I'm here to take my blood right to be the head of this clan. The table erupted in laughter at Hinata's words. You as clan head, we'd sooner pick one of the servants. One particularly snarky woman said, her nose held high as she looked down upon Hinata. Blood right by birth is not something clan elders can decide upon. I have 2 years before I'm officially made either clan head or sealed with the caged bird seal. 2 years is a very long time. Indeed it is, and what do you plan to prove? That you are worthy, that your past failings in life were simply things to forget. Hinata kept silent as she listened to the elders degrade her. One by one they had their turn speaking and Hinata stood there, and took the abuse. All of this was for a reason, and if suffering like this was punishment for the way she left Naruto, then Hinata welcomed the pain. You are aware that if you become clan head then your sister will be sealed, right? One of the elders said with a twisted smile. Oh, is it fun making this girl break? She provided them much amusement. However, Hinata smiled, something they had not expected. No, Hanabi will not be sealed. She cannot pass on the Hyuga name. Though of pure Hyuga blood, Hanabi is not a male, and only men can pass on the names of their clans, making new families. Because of this factor, something that has been overlooked many times over the years, Hanabi is safe. Had she been a son she would indeed be cursed, but the fates have saved her from this. The elders stared at her with shock evident on their features. This was not common knowledge, but how had she come to know this? Naruto, where are you? Sakura ran through the forest searching for the blonde. She was completely unaware of Naruto's multiple clones informing him of her movements. Right now he wanted nothing to do with her. He just wanted to find Hinata. The thought of her made him smile. Hinata, I will not give up, I will find you. I love you. Naruto. Turning quickly the blonde caught sight of his sensei Kakashi. The aloof ninja's eye caught Naruto's blue ones. Hinata's return to the Hyuga estate. There's a big commotion in the Hokage's tower. If you want to find Hinata, this would be the place to do it. Sakura had found herself back in the village just as Hinata and a group of Hyugas stormed past her, heading towards the office of the Hokage. Curious she followed them, perching herself near one of Tsunade's windows so she could eavesdrop on the details. The door echoed as it was rapped upon. Enter, Tsunade said, not even looking up from her paperwork. Today had been a very good day, and in fact she had been almost done with the pile of paper evil located on her desk. Just as she finished the last page, Tsunade looked up to see Hinata and many disgruntled Hyuga elders. Hinata's with who? Naruto yelped as he and Kakashi ran to the Hokage's tower. The Hyuga girl was with a group of the Hyuga elders at the Hokage's tower. This made Naruto uneasy. Every time Hinata and the clan elders were in the same place something bad happened, it was as if they were out to get her. Pushing Chakra to his feet, Naruto outran Kakashi heading towards the center of the village. Tsunade led the group of Hyugas to a conference room and sat down. Would you like to tell me what's going on? Tsunade asked as she looked at each face at the table, her hands folded in front of her. Yes, Lady Tsunade, this ignorant girl has forsaken her clan and has cast it aside. By doing so she gave up her rights as the heiress of the clan along with her sister Hanabi, who must be sealed to protect the Byakugan. A female elder said, adjusting her robe. Tsunade simply raised an eyebrow at the older woman. No, Hinata was removed from her father's care by my choice, and mine alone. Because it was for her best interest, I went over her head in this matter, especially seeing how she was unconscious at the time. Tsunade turned towards Hinata. Have you ever publicly forsaken your clan? No, Lady Tsunade, I just wish to follow my mother's dreams for me by becoming the next clan head, however the clan elders are denying my birthright to me which I feel is inappropriate. I willingly return to my clan. I have never slandered them, nor have I renounced my relation to anybody in the family. I don't see what the problem is here aside from the fact that they're letting their corrupt ways affect their leadership of this clan. As the only heir of age, I have the right to have some amount of control in the clan, especially seeing how in 2 years I will be 18. Hyuga law claims that the heir of the clan gains complete control of the clan at the age of adulthood. An older man cut Hinata off. You have proved to be an incompetent heiress. You no longer have any rights in this clan. Actually I am the one who makes that decision. The group turned to see Hiyashi Hyuga, the current leader of the Hyuga clan. Hiyashi, father, Tsunade, Hinata, Hiyashi said nodding towards the two women. I apologize for my lateness in arriving to this meeting. I was not told it would be taking place or I would have arrived accordingly, he said glaring at the group of elders. Hinata has every right to be a member of this clan, and she has every right to put a claim in for her birthright. She has excelled magnificently over the years. The girl you claimed would never become a shinobi has become a chunin. Yes, most heirs are jonin when they claim their rights, but Hinata has 2 years to become the perfect heiress. It can be accomplished, and it's rude to snoop by Windows girl. Hiyashi said, turning towards the only available window in the room. Immediately Tsunade rushed over to the window, catching the eavesdropping Sakura, who had tripped trying to get away. "Sakura Haruno, wait for me in my office now," Tsunade snarled at the embarrassed pink-haired girl. Hinata watched with her Byakugan as Sakura made her way into Tsunade's office and sat down. "There are many things to be discussed for the future of this clan, namely who will take over when I am no longer able. Lord Hyuga, that will be a very long time in the future, by then you could have produced a competent heir with your second wife." Hiyashi simply smiled at the elder. "That would be impossible, I would simply be leaving more children parentless, and as for Makoto and I, we have decided in a mutual separation. She keeps her main branch status and nothing more." Hinata was in shock at her father's words, but it was not the declaration of divorce that shocked her. "What do you mean you'd be leaving more children parentless, father?" Hinata asked hesitantly. She could only hope that her thoughts were wrong. Hiyashi faced his oldest child, sadness on his face, yet he smiled. "I am dying, Hinata. My heart is not as strong as it used to be." But you can't die." Hinata sputtered. "Why now? Why when they finally got along, when they could act like a father and daughter, did fate chose to rip those bonds to shreds? To burn them before any good could come out of the matter? How long do you have left?" Hinata felt so defeated, though Tsunade didn't seem as surprised by the news. Hiyashi had been suffering a heart condition since a young age, and though he had hidden it well, it was not something that he could hide forever. "A bit more than 2 years, I'm sorry I have not told you sooner," Hiyashi said, facing his saddened daughter. "However, I will take it upon myself to train you in the special arts of this clan. I have shunned and pushed you away. It is because of me that you lack such skill in our fighting style. Your training will begin in 2 weeks' time, but for now you will gather your things and return to the Hyuga compound if you wish to do so." Hiyashi stood as well as the elders who followed. "Lord Hyuga, there must be rules for her return. We don't wish for her to simply abandon us yet again." Hiyashi sighed roughly. "Fine, make rules. Nothing that will hamper her training, nothing that will affect her in any way negatively. Am I clear?" "Yes, Lord Hyuga," the clan elders chorused. The elders were beginning to plot. They would have their way, one way or another. Hiyashi left the conference room and the elders followed. Hinata and Tsunade sat alone together, and eventually the Hokage spoke. "Hinata, what in the world are you thinking? They're going to flay you alive. Why in the world would you risk so much?" Tsunade was truly worried. The Hyuga clan was one of the cruelest clans in Konoha, and Hinata was far too nice for her own good. Something was wrong with the picture here. Why would she do this? Naruto loves Sakura. He's always loved Sakura. I was just enjoying it while it lasted. I knew it wouldn't last forever. Hinata, don't lie to me. What is going on? What in the world is the real reason behind all this? This couldn't be from some simple misunderstanding, right? Naruto climbed the stairs and ran right into his pink-haired teammate. "Naruto, Hinata and Lady Tsunade are in a meeting. Apparently she's going to live with the Hyuga clan again. She said that she never willingly left the clan, that she lived with you against her will." Why would Hinata lie like that? Sakura's words were twisted and manipulative. If she could make it seem truthful and even sound curiously disturbed, maybe Naruto would begin to see her in that special light again. Naruto was floored as he listened to Sakura's words. Would Hinata really lie like that? There was no way it was all fake. It couldn't be, the emotions were too real for it to be a lie. Pushing his way past Sakura, Naruto continued onwards to the Hokage's office, passing the conference room in which Hinata and Tsunade were situated. Everything was rushing through his mind. This was going way too fast. First he was on cloud 9 and suddenly it was as if his world was coming to an end. Why was this happening? Bursting through the door, Naruto was greeted with an empty office. "It looks like they've already left. Hinata's going to live with the Hyugas again. She's probably taking her stuff from your house right now. Everybody knows that you're out looking for her." Again it was Sakura, hoping to fill Naruto's heart with doubt. However, the blonde had finally had enough. "You know what, Sakura? I liked you once, and I did have a crush on you. But not anymore. To me you are nothing more than a sister, and that is something that will never change between us. At one time I was in love with you. But now I only love you as Sakura, my teammate and sibling. I love you like how I love Granny Tsunade, how I love the third Hokage, how I love my friends. I love Hinata a different way. I love her for her laugh and smile, her personality and that shine in her eyes, the warmth and grace she carries wherever she goes. I love Hinata in a special way, I love her like I love everybody else, and I love her more than that as well. So if you're going to help me, then help me, but if you're only going to hurt me, then just leave Sakura. I have plenty of precious people who would never try to intentionally hurt me. Sakura was aghast. Now she was lumped with everybody else, she was just part of the group. And the realization had sunk in that Hinata had won this unannounced fight. The silent stuttering Kunoichi had won where the vibrant and bold Sakura had not, and it made her sick. Was she really becoming this? How was it possible that she had sunk so low on Naruto's radar? Sakura bowed her head as she stepped out of the doorway. They're in the conference room down the hall. The elders just left, apparently they're going to make rules that Hinata will be forced to obey, and knowing the Hyuga elders they will be rules that will keep Hinata from all of her friends. You mostly. With that said, Sakura sat in the chair in front of Tsunade's desk. Naruto walked from the office without even giving Sakura a passing glance. He was glad that she was finally seeing reason, but disturbed that she would ever go so far as to lie to him like she did. As he neared the conference room the door opened revealing an indigo-haired girl, and the Hokage, both who stopped and stared at the blonde. Naruto, please don't. Hinata I can't just forget. I carry you in my spirit, when you're gone, I can't stop thinking about you, I care more for you than I care for myself. And your eyes, and smile, they make my world right. Please, Hinata don't do this, I don't want us to become a distant memory, please. Naruto stared deep into Hinata's eyes, praying for the best to happen, hoping that above all else it was just some kind of twisted trick. But the look in her eyes scared him, it was as if he'd lose her any second. Hinata stared into Naruto's pleading cerulean eyes. Her heart was breaking. Glancing past the blonde before her, Hinata noticed one of the Hyuga elders lingering in the hall, staring at her, making no effort to hide himself. Hinata took in a shaky breath and looked back at Naruto taking a step away. Her eyes filled with tears. Doing the best for her sister, her father, and going after her mother's dreams for her was going to be the hardest thing she had ever done. Drying her eyes, Hinata looked away. She knew the look on his face would kill her. I'm sorry you don't want us to become a simple memory, but I do. Hinata could barely breathe. Turning, she walked over to the Hyuga elder, her head bowed as she went. Naruto and Tsunade watched as they walked from the building, the Hokage's hand clicked on the heartbroken boy's shoulder, keeping him in place. Naruto's world had come crashing down all around him. Hinata's love was ripped away, tearing his heart to shreds. What was left for him now? He could only stare as the pieces of his heart were blown and scattered away. That same day, Hyuga servants arrived at Naruto's house to collect Hinata's belongings, only the ones that had once resided in the Hyuga compound. When Naruto arrived home, her room was an empty shell, but what hurt the most was that everything he had given her lay upon the bed in a neat pile. As much as he hated to accept it, Naruto had come to terms later that evening with a difficult fact. Hinata was gone, and by the looks of things, she wasn't coming back. Hinata sat alone in her old room in the Hyuga house. So much had happened, so much pain to bring about something truly good. This was the best for all of them. Hanabi was staying at Naruto's house, it was her home after all. Enko was taking her from the village on long-term easy assignments, keeping Hanabi in the dark about most of the events that were taking place at Hinata's request. After the meeting, Hinata had written letters to everybody and delivered them accordingly, immediately returning to the Hyuga compound once the deed was accomplished. There were several that were of great importance. One for Tsunade, one for Kurenai and Kiba, one for her father, one for Enko, and one for Naruto. Hinata lay across the bed and stared up at the ceiling. The room was bland, and was missing a great amount of color. Hinata missed the painted walls of her room, the room that had been decorated and painted just for her. All done with love and care in every intention. She missed Naruto. For everything she had done, it killed her inside each and every time. Every look, every hurt feeling she knew he felt. Naruto lay across his bed staring at his ceiling, and like Hinata, he was in deep thought. A letter lay across his chest. Naruto, everything I'm doing has a reason. Right now we can't be together, but I will never stop loving you. It was foolish of me to tell you to try to forget about me. You probably won't be able to, and I know I won't be able to forget you either. Just know that I'm sorry. This is important, I need you to do this for me. I don't know how long this will take, but just live your life. Go out on missions, train, become strong, and I will do the same. Hinata. What was going on? First she crushed his heart out, then he gets this letter saying that she still loves him, that she can't forget him, that she knows it would be too hard. What the hell was he missing? Kurenai and Kiba were poring over the letter they shared from Hinata. Something was odd about the wording of things. Dear Kurenai-sensei, Kiba, and Akamaru, Naruto will act his own ways, do not mistreat him for that. Nothing is his fault, it is mine. Is anyone to blame for my realization? As much as it hurts, I don't think what I did was wrong. It looks like life works in mysterious ways, doesn't it? What seems to be normal to some can be fake to others. Hinata. Sensei, Hinata's letter seems a bit off, don't you think? Kiba asked after reading it several times. He was now examining the envelope, looking for anything new, or for a clue. Hinata had wanted to be with Naruto forever, why in the world would she ever throw that away? Kurenai walked into the kitchen to grab a drink as Kiba steadily examined the letter before him. The last part makes no sense at all, but what is it supposed to even mean? Frustrated, Kiba tossed the envelope onto the table and watched as it covered most of the letter. His eyes widened in shock. Kiba had found the letter's hidden meaning. Immediately he called for his sensei. A knock came to Naruto's door. Sighing, he sat up once again and walked to the door, opening it, coming face to face with another Hyuga messenger. I'm sorry Naruto, I forgot to bring this the last time. The young boy said, handing the blonde the letter, who immediately tore it open. Please accept my gratitude for taking the time to wait before reading my letter. Everything going on is for the best. Though you are my friend, you will always be more to me than that. I've strung you along and it was wrong of me. Naruto, please forgive me for my past actions. I'm truly remorseful for how I treated you when I left. I'm sorry for any pain and hurt you felt. But our feelings are, no. My love can never be. Goodbye for now, Hinata Hyuga. Again Naruto felt his heart clench painfully. Why was Hinata doing this to him? Did she enjoy the pain he was feeling? No, his Hinata could never ever be that cruel. Naruto folded the letter in half lengthwise, and just as he was about to fold it in half yet again, he stopped. Look underneath, Naruto thought, smirking. Now he had clearly felt like an idiot, not for feeling what he felt, but for not even considering that there might be an alternate reason for anything that occurred. Of course, this made complete sense. Putting the letter onto his pocket, Naruto ran out to find Kurenai. She will have most likely gotten a letter from Hinata as well. Poorly folded in half, the blank side of the paper covered up half of Hinata's message, revealing her true words. Please wait for me Naruto. I'm sorry my love. Kurenai rushed over to Kiba after he called out. If he had found something that could make this confusing letter more clear, it would be a great help. What is it, Kiba? The Genjutsu mistress asked, leaning over the scruffy boy who smirked, covering most of the letter with the envelope. See for yourself, sensei. Kurenai stared at the letter when it came clearly into view. Hinata's true message was hidden in plain sight. No doubt the elders were scrutinizing them as they left the compound. Kurenai smirked at the brightness of her student, but still wondered what her intentions for doing all this had been. Dear Kurenai-sensei, Kiba, and Naruto, nothing is as it seems. Hinata hand-delivered her 2 remaining letters in the presence of the elders, one for her father, and one for Tsunade. Hiyashi took the letter and placed it onto his desk. Continuing on with clan work, Tsunade immediately opened hers. Dear Tsunade, the clan elders have discussed many things with me. I want to rejoin the clan for my own sake. This is something I want to do, so please don't try and stop me. I am no longer afraid of the caged bird. Seal, I've learned to accept things my sister Hanabi could not even realize. I request that you keep my missions to a minimum so I may focus on my clan and prove myself. Away is my childhood, I need to get back to reality. A light in my head turned on, it seemed. As I have said before, I would like less missions. Please take my request into account, Lady Hokage. Hinata. Tsunade read through the letter several times before looking back at Hinata. I completely understand your request in its entirety, Tsunade said slowly as she stared at Hinata. You are completely sure about this? Yes, Lady Tsunade, everything was completely thought through. Everything. All right, it will be done. Hinata bowed to the Hokage as she and the elder turned and left the room, heading back towards the Hyuga residence. Lady Hinata, you know what you are doing, yes? The old man asked as they walked through the village. Hinata looked at the older man. His name was Makoto. The elder was always kind to Hinata. In fact, it was he who had often watched over the girl, making sure that the other elders would not go overboard with their acts of cruelty. Hinata simply smiled at the elderly man who was more like a grandfather to her than anything else. Yes, I'm quite sure with my actions today. How have you been, Makoto sir? It was the older man's turn to smile. Oh dear, nothing has changed in this old man's life. But I know much has changed in yours. Tell me, child, why when you were so happy did you chose to give it all up? You loved that boy. Hinata looked away, holding back the tears in her eyes. The clan will need a strong head soon, and I know that father won't be around forever. Besides, Hanabi can't lose her entire family because the other elders are driving the clan into the ground. And my mother wouldn't want me to just abandon the clan like this. I have a plan on what needs to be done, I just need to make sure it goes flawless. They need to see me as the perfect heiress, one who's strong, brilliant and masterful of the Hyuga style of Juken. I have 2 years, are there going to? Hinata drifted off as she shook her head. She didn't want to think of such things, let alone acknowledge the fact that she agreed to it. I know, Lady Hinata, I was there. Makoto said sadly. Hinata was to prove herself as the perfect heiress, or be married off to a man outside of Fire Country. The elders were completely confident that Hinata would fail, well, most of them anyway. I have faith in your abilities, Hinata, just as I had faith in your mother. But I know your decision in its entirety was not based solely upon your care for the clan, come now, out with it. Hinata simply stared at the older man. How he was able to see through her facade so clearly was a bit frightening. Naruto, he's loved Sakura since we were kids. Makoto simply nodded. There are many different kinds of love, Hinata: love for a friend, love for a comrade, love for family, and the love you feel when you absolutely truly love somebody special. While this Sakura may have strong emotions for him now, it seems that Naruto's emotions are focused towards you. Yes, he may love the other girl, but not like how he loves you, dear. Makoto said as he checked his watch. I know that too well. But I know that Hanabi and I have been watched since we left the clan. I know that if I told Naruto, they would see right through it, his emotions wouldn't have been right or something, they would have known something was wrong. But I wanted to keep him safe from them. I'm just a horrible person. No, not horrible, just dense. Even if you fake an entire relationship. It was not fake. I loved him, I still do love him. Makoto simply raised a hand to silence the angry girl before him. The emotions are still there. If you had told him about the elders and faked it, the emotions would have still been there. Hinata felt physically sick. He was right, this was not something she had not thought of. You must be sick of an old man's rambling. I'm going to have my tea. Good luck, Hinata. I hope your efforts prove successful. They walked through the gates leading to the compound, the odd pair heading in different directions after bidding farewell. Hinata wanted one final day to herself before she went all out. The only place she really wanted to be was with Naruto, but in the meantime her secret garden would have to do. Kurenai, Naruto yelled as he knocked on her door, practically pummeling it into dust. It opened and Naruto was greeted not by Kurenai, but with Kiba. Hey Naruto, what brings you out here? The dog ninja asked, looking at the confused blonde. Hell Kiba, I could ask you the same thing, why are you at Kurenai's house of all places? Kiba simply raised an eyebrow. Nope, Naruto still wasn't the brightest bulb in the bunch. Because I'm visiting my sensei, what's your excuse? He asked, rolling his eyes at Naruto, who facepalmed. Shaking his head, Kiba stepped out of the doorway, allowing Naruto access to the home. Kurenai-sensei, Naruto's here. Kiba yelled as he led the way into the small kitchen where Kurenai sat examining the short letter before her. Nothing else stood out. Was this the only message in the letter? Possibly, but who else got hidden messages in their letters? The two boys took a seat on either side of Kurenai. There was much to discuss. After a few hours, Naruto went home, his heart a bit lighter. It still hurt, but it would heal, but he couldn't help but wonder what Hinata was up to make her go through the trouble of living such a desolate life with the Hyugas. And especially without telling him anything. Had she decided this recently or long ago? Kurenai was a big help explaining some of Hinata's actions, because now that he thought about it, every time Hinata pushed him away, there was a Hyuga member nearby. Kurenai had noticed the old woman in the plaza. She was an elder Kurenai had recognized from dealing with them in Hinata's youth. A cold, vindictive, cruel woman that elder was. And when they met again in the Hokage's office, there had been yet another Hyuga elder. Naruto thought of what Sakura said as well, about the Hyugas making rules about Naruto and Hinata being together or seeing each other. That was the only sound thing that had come from her mouth all day that had made any sense. For now he would trust Kurenai's judgment. She seemed confident, but Naruto was worried. Weeks had passed and Hinata was in a whole new routine. Every morning at 5 was training with her father, then breakfast at 7, clan meetings until noon, lunch, more training focusing on her personalized stance, meditation with Makoto, clan paperwork with her father, dinner and finally time to rest. At times, the hours seemed to fly by, and other times, the minutes dragged on in a never-ending stream of seconds. At 8:30 in the morning, Hinata was stuck in clan meetings for the next 3.5 hours. In these meetings, they would discuss clan matters, training methods, the branch house and the use of the seal against non-shinobi branch members. Hinata couldn't help but feel disgusted at how carelessly the elders abused their privileges. Some had even activated the seals of children who had done poorly in their duties around the compound. As the elders and Hiyashi spoke, Hinata listened to the conversation. If we remove their seals, then there will always be a chance that they could revolt and cause an uprising in the clan, a haughty older woman said looking towards another elder. Yes, but the real question is, should we even give them that chance? They are only children now, servants and the like, but for all we know they could be secretly training to activate their Byakugans without our knowledge. Good points all around, but what does the clan head in training think? The man said, as the table turned to look at Hinata, waiting to hear her answer. Hinata cleared her throat as she sat up straighter. Well, this is a controversial topic in our clan. The seal protects not only the secrets of the Byakugan, but keeps our subordinates in line. However, what if we were to create an entirely new seal that would be used not only on the cadet branch of our clan, but the main branch as well? Immediately there were several outbursts at Hinata's suggestion, which she ignored, and after silencing the group she continued onwards. What you fear is that the branch members will activate the seals of the main branch members to get retribution for the ways they have been treated in the past. I believe that if we alter seals already in place, and change the seal itself, we can get a seal that will protect the bloodline traits of all, and will not be used as punishments. Many main branch members have abused their power, and many cadet members are afraid to show their true potential for fear of punishment. If we give everybody a seal and merge the two houses of Hyuga that live under these roofs, then we would have the potential to become much stronger than we ever have been. Hinata said, concluding her mini-speech. The elders stared at her in shock, while Hiyashi and Makoto simply smirked. Are you mad, girl? With that one plan you would lead the entire clan to ruin. Who would benefit from this? Certainly not us. Elder Mushi, you are more focused on your own benefit than the benefit of the entire clan. You would rather see yourself die happy than see the clan become one united group able to withstand anything. It is time to stop asking, how will this benefit me? And time to start asking, how will this benefit us? The cadet branch is our base, and without a sturdy base nothing built upon it will stand forever. Lady Hinata, you do make an excellent point. Makoto said as he looked around the table at the stunned faces. Let's face it, we're not going to be around forever, we must form a solid standing now for our clan in the future. The group talked animatedly on the subject for the next hour or so until they were interrupted by a knocking on the door. Enter, Hiyashi called out, silencing the elders as the door opened revealing a messenger. I apologize for interrupting your clan affairs, Lord Hyuga, but Lady Hinata's team has been summoned as backup for Team 7 and Team Guy. There's a crisis in the village hidden in the sand, the case cage has been taken. Hinata stared in shock. Of all people to go down against an enemy, it was Gaara. She vividly recalled how strong he had been in the Chunin and Jonin exams. He had many amazing fights, but to think somebody could defeat a cage-level ninja. The thought sent a tremor of fear through her heart. This would be no easy mission. Standing, Hinata bowed to the table in front of her. I request permission to join this mission. Request denied. Request granted. What? The elder growled looking at Hiyashi. Team Guy consists of our own Neji Hyuga, if his skills are not enough, then what point is it to send her? Hinata is accomplished enough to be a useful help in this mission. She is no longer a burden upon others, but a leader in her own right. Hinata, go meet with your team in Tsunade, we'll finish up the meeting. Hiyashi said, waving her away. Hinata bowed to her father before quickly making her way to the Hokage Tower. Something of this magnitude, they were no doubt sending out the most able teams possible. Arriving at the tower, Hinata made her way into Tsunade's office where Team Guy was waiting. Team 7 apparently had gotten a head start and were already halfway there. Team Guy, Team 8, you will be Team 7's backup. We are dealing with people known as the Akatsuki. Just 2 members alone have the strength to take down the case cage, be careful. After the rest of the mission debriefing, the 2 groups went and collected their necessities for the mission. This was going to be a tough fight,